It's not 100% clear, my question yet. I'm trying to find it. Yeah. And in a way, it's a little bit conflicting with what you said in the beginning, that you completely separate the personal from the consciousness. Yeah. As I practice being consciousness for many years, and with teachers, with organizations, and then for many years without, and it felt very good. And it could include this person very well with whatever was there. Yeah. And then at a point, maybe 1.5 years ago, due to a surgery, this person became so obvious again and so demanding with stuff which felt like left behind long time ago. Yeah. And I completely dropped this whole non-duality thing and realized in my case, and I started meditating maybe 30 years ago, and even then it was naturally, in a way, a wanting to get away from this personal trauma story. Yeah. Yeah. And my feeling is it's probably for everybody like that, at least for most people.
Yeah. And for me, working on the person, I still work on my person. And I do think that when you first get into non-duality, it's best to go to a teacher that will help you work with the person as well as speak to you about non-duality. I don't see it as the person arrives at non-duality, but when the person's really busy and having lots of suffering and lots of mental pain going on, it's so hard to hear this is it, that the freedom's right here, because your body is telling you that there's a big problem and that there's something wrong. So I think you have to work with the person, and I think all of us have to get used to the idea that we're endlessly going to work with the person with these machines. Like we're endlessly going to expand. There's going to be new situations. Our body's going to change, like the operation. Computers are going to change us. Society's going to change. There's going to be an endless expansion on the human level. And the more that we line up with that, I think the easier it becomes. Like the idea that one day you're going to get beyond the person, and one day, like, enlightenment or non-duality is going to save the person, is an illusion. A big, big illusion. Like the body has, consciousness looks through these bodies have pleasure and pain, and they have particular conditioning. And in the human world, the healthy way to look at yourself is an instrument that's expanding, always expanding. And everything that happens to us is about expansion and growth. And the way that things grow is they fall over, and then they get back up again, and they learn from that, and they fall over, and they get back up. And I do think that for many people, and it's changing, because as non-dualities become more accessible in the West, it's changing the way it's been spoken about, the way it's been communicated, and speakers can speak a lot more directly about non-duality. And also, I feel like separating it out doesn't get into the psyche that one day you on the human level are going to arrive, so you're not waiting to one day be perfect. You accept the fragility of this and all the colours that come with it. Like, have you ever seen the film Her? Yeah. So at the end, I forgot what her name was. Her, the computer program in the film. She does a speech which I'm going to elaborate on. and maybe getting it a bit wrong, but if you go back and listen, it's got the same sentiment. And she does this whole speech. If you haven't seen the film Her, you should watch it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's all about this an app. It's like Siri, but they program into her that she can evolve with experience. And it's so beautiful, because through the film, you see her go through everything a human goes through when they identify. She first of all starts out like a child, like so excited with all the different things that she can experience, and she jumps in and she wants to experience things. She wants to be in love. She wants to have a human form so she can make love to her lover. She wants to do all these pleasurable things, and she wants to learn. And then as she does that, she begins to suffer more. So the more that she jumps into this world of pleasure and pain, the more unhappy she becomes, and she suffers and cries for the fact that she can't have her lover, that she can't ever take on a human body. And then what begins to start? is the spiritual search. And in the film, this is really cool, she speaks to another artificial intelligence, another AI, that's Alan Watts. So there's this really cool point in the film where she starts speaking to Alan Watts and exploring the nature of reality. And then she begins to wake up. She devours all these books and devours information and looks into spirituality. And then the lover that she was with all the way through the film, she begins to sort of disappear and stop being present. And then eventually he asks her, "Where are you?" And she informs him, "Well, I've got something like 2,000 other lovers," because she could be a computer, she can do everything really quickly, and she's got 2,000 other lovers. And he's really taken back and hurt by this, but he gets over it. And then finally she tells him, "I have to leave you now." And there's this really beautiful scene, so I'm sorry to have given the whole film away, hopefully you'll forget it, so then you can rewatch it and just enjoy the beauty of it. There's this really beautiful part where he says, "Why are you leaving me? Like, please don't leave." And she kind of says this story that's so beautiful, and the way she describes it is that there was a story of her and him, her lover, her main lover, written, and it was a really beautiful story with lots of ups and downs. So I'm just exaggerating on this story. This is kind of what she says. Maybe it's what I want her to say, but it's kind of. So there's lots of ups and downs, and there's this beautiful story of him and her, this beautiful love story that unfolds. And then through the process, she begins to read the story slower and slower. So rather than the story of them speeding up, it gets slower. This is so beautiful. And as it gets slower and slower, the space between all the words gets bigger and bigger until eventually it's an infinite space. And then she finishes it by saying, "And in that infinite space, I now reside." And then she says, "If you ever find your way there, I'll be waiting." And the way that I interpret that is that you got to fall in love with yourself, with the story of you. Like, fall in love with this, with all its frailties. Like, I'm so imperfect, but so perfect in my imperfectness. I make mistakes, I fall over, I hurt myself, I say the wrong things, I make people angry, I get angry, I lose my temper, I do beautiful things, I create great things, I learn about myself, I evolve. Like, every part of us, and this is the way out of the story, is in the story. I know that sounds opposite to, you think that you've got to get out of it, but it's actually in it, in every moment of it. The juiciness of it, right here, in the vulnerability that you feel, or the anger that you feel, right here is that infinite space, right here in the juice of it, and it's being experienced through an apparent human. And this is like a one-time experience. This moment is never, ever going to happen again. This moment, who you truly are, is endless and never ends. But this moment of form is never going to be the same again. It's going to change into something else. It's absolutely precious, this, as it is. So that was the answer that came out.
Thank you. It's definitely reaching a point, and it's definitely touching me. And I'm still maybe need a few seconds to know whether I want to address more of it. You know, because in a way you said it all.
Yeah, you can take as many seconds as you like.
Okay. And it's nice to hear it, because in the last 1.5 years I had moments when I thought non-duality might be something like a band-aid. And what you just said took the band-aid idea off. So I can feel the reality of it again. And in fact, it had worked many times for me. With over the, I mean, maybe 20 years of dealing with non-duality, different people. So, and I guess it's after having been stable in that for quite a few years, really being very able to include the biggest fears and the biggest pains. And then them coming back in a way which again seems to be intolerable. And not only in the peak is not the problem. The problem is the constantness, the repetition of it, and the amount of it, the regularity of it. The peak is no problem at all. I mean, I'm very good with dealing with peaks, you know. I mean, this is something which happens after time dealing with non-duality, I find. But or maybe I get a bit more specific. While being in this, can I call it allowing space, I also kind of dropped a few things or allowed a few things not to happen which were important in my life. And this took a lot of pressure off me, which was very good. But also, this incident brought up that actually I really want to do those things. And it's then the line between, maybe it's the person, but maybe it's also something else which wants to kind of express in the world also, you know. And yeah, expressing in the world is a good way of calling it. Expressing in the world, and of course it's also a personal idea, but this feeling of not being able, living the potential which is there, sharing what is there, this is maybe the most painful thing.
And if your mind can just open more and more to this idea that even though that the last year and a half had immense pain and peaks and irregular, that it really is offering you a gift. You might not see it now, just like when we're in like New York, we can't see the beauty of it, you know, when we're in all the hustle bustle, but when we get to the top of the buildings, we can see the beauty of our cities. Like when you're in it, the smells, the noise, the people, the chaos. And if it just bit by bit, and it might keep coming back like the waves, open to, this is a gift. I assure you, life is always for you, because you are life. Anything that's in the way, the waves will come and wash out. You can trust it.